What are we making
today? We're gonna make Mexican rice or Spanish rice, depending on where you're from. They call it different things. It's the rice they give you at Mexican or Tex-Mex restaurants. That sometimes tastes really good. Sometimes it's not very good. And it's dry and it's like baked onto the plate and sticks and like it's a mess and no one likes that. But hopefully ours isn't like that. It turns out good, not mushy. So that's my plan.
We'll see what it turns out like.
We'll see, yeah.
All right.
I'm going to show you how to make this rice now. These are the ingredients we're going to need. We're going to need, of course, rice. I'm going to use long grain jasmine rice for this, but just any long grain white rice works great for this. Bell pepper, onion, garlic, my taco seasoning, Mexican seasoning. I need to get a better name for it that I came up with. I'm using broth, vegetable broth concentrate for this. You could use chicken broth concentrate or canned broth, whatever you want. And we got tomato sauce. You could also use, like I was saying, crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes or even like fresh tomatoes. Like a medium-sized fresh tomato would work great in this too. And then bay leaves, salt, and that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting this up. Let's get our onion going. Just gonna slice it like I normally do. Like chop somewhat fine.
This is smaller than
the potatoes.
Than the potatoes.
Yeah, because the potatoes, since we're roasting it for a long time, if you make them this small, they'll end up like burning. And then you don't want that. Got a little paper in there, but ain't gonna hurt nothing. Okay, now the bell pepper. Try to rip out as much of the white part as you can. You don't have to, but it's kind of bitter tasting. And then just chop it. This one you can make a little bigger. Depends how big of pieces you want in the finished product. If you want like where you can't really tell what's in there, mince it up pretty fine. But if you want to see big chunks of pepper or onion, cut them like that.
Right.
Doesn't really affect the flavor of the recipe at all. Okay, pepper's done. We can mash the garlic. I'm gonna press this garlic, I think. Use our press. Whoa, these are tiny cloves, they're going everywhere. Put that to the side. This is just easier to put it, for me, to put it all together because it's going to go in at the same time. Makes it so we don't have to carry everything. I'm going to go ahead and get the pan going here. So let's turn it on about 7 or so because this pan's really thick. It takes a little bit to heat up. Let's go ahead and put some oil down. You're going to need a little more oil than you would think, like 3 to 4 tablespoons. I think is what I put in the recipe. I don't know, I just coat the bottom of the pan. Once we start cooking, we're gonna turn it down to like 5 or 6 because I don't like cooking above that on most electric stoves because you go over that, it can be really, you can burn stuff really easy. This is pretty warm.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
So we're gonna turn it down about 6. We're gonna dump in, I got 2 cups of rice here, white rice. Dump it in.
And you didn't wash it, right?
No, I don't wash it. Don't wash it. Let me get this. If you wash it, make sure to really dry it well. Because if you throw if that rice is still wet, and you throw it in there with this hot oil, splatter, pop, you're gonna burn yourself.
You're gonna burn yourself, yeah.
Don't do that. I don't think you need to wash rice. This kind of rice, like shorter grain rices, they have a lot of excess starch on them. But this rice is fine. You don't want that. So just spread it out as evenly as you can. And we're just gonna let it toast. This is crucial for Mexican rice, the toasting step. I would not skip this because it makes the rice puff up in like individual grains and it doesn't get mushy if you do this. In a minute it'll start getting the rice will start turning opaque instead of like, see-through, I guess, translucent. This isn't there yet, this is gonna take a few minutes. We're gonna check on our rice now. Oh yeah, see it's starting to get a little golden and some of it's starting to get a little opaque, white. That's what we want. Then you can kind of start smelling like popcorn.
Yeah, I do smell that.
We'll just wait a few minutes.
You wait for the translucent ones to turn yellow brownish.
Or white, solid white. Because that's the first step before it starts browning.
Oh, okay.
If they're solid white and you got some brown in there, it's good. Like you just gotta get them to at least mostly solid white.
Alright.
Yeah,
I don't know if we mentioned this, but we're doing all this at the same time. So we got the potatoes going in the oven at the same time we're doing the rice. So everything will get done quick.
I think this is alright. See, we're getting a pretty decent amount of brown and yellow in here. A decent amount of white already. We can keep taking this further, but it gets risky the further you take this. You can burn it really easy. So I'm gonna call this good. This will puff up and do what we want. So we're gonna go ahead and do our next step. Dump in our peppers and onions.
I don't know if you mentioned this. This is like a one-pot recipe too.
Yeah. Stir it around. This pan is really hot, by the way. You'll see this in a second. Once we put in our broth, it'll just like bubble up like crazy. You might need to slide it off the heat. You might need to slide it off the heat when we get to that step.
I got you.
Because it might be too hot. It might boil it like out of the pot. Now we can see some of the rice getting extra pretty brown. Like the onions are, see they look pretty cooked and translucent. Now we can continue to the next step, which is adding, oh yeah, the garlic. We're adding the garlic.
You've loaded up your press.
Yeah.
If you're on the press, you can mince it up on the cutting board before.
I don't want that smell on my hands for the rest of the day.
Definitely invest in the garlic press. This one's like $1 or $2 from IKEA.
Yep. You get them from Walmart and stuff pretty cheap too. Okay, this stuff's starting to stick, so we're not going to add more oil. We're going to add our broth. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to do this concentrate. 1 teaspoon is a cup of broth, and we need 3 cups of broth. So I'm going to do 1 pretty big tablespoon, so that's 3 teaspoons. This is 2 cups of water. I got to add another one. Yeah, this is the step I'm talking about, baby. Slide it off the heat while you do this. Whoa! See, it bubbles a lot, so I'm moving back. Go ahead and stir that broth in. Another cup of water. This is my taco Mexican seasoning.
He's got his special stuff right there.
You're gonna do a tablespoon and a half. Oh,
this is where you, yeah, okay, say that.
What?
Tablespoon and a half.
Tablespoon and a half of this.
Okay.
So,
but what I was gonna say was, check the other video. Which one was it where you made that? I don't remember.
The lentils? No, it was before that. I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know. One of the previous videos, he made this. Check him out. It's,
and then
good stuff.
the bay leaf. These are 2 little bitty ones, so I'll throw 2 of those in there. And then we need about half a cup to a cup of tomato sauce if you use sauce. I'm gonna eyeball it. Now you can see the color. After getting all the seasoning and the tomato in, it's red. This is a arroz rojo, as they call it in Mexico. Now we're just gonna stir this till it comes back up to a boil. And then we're gonna put a lid on it, turn it down to low, 1 or 2 on your stove, and then simmer, let it cook for 15 minutes, and then slide it off the heat and let it rest for another 10 minutes. Brought it to a boil now, we're gonna put the lid on, turn it down to low, 1, 2-ish on your stove. Set a timer for 15 minutes. I gotta set a timer up here because you're using the other one. 15 minutes. Oh, that's 14 seconds. That's not.
Gotcha.
Timer for 15 minutes.
15 hours. We'll be back tomorrow.
Come back, and then don't take the lid off at all at this point. Like, don't touch it. Leave it alone. Even if it looks like, oh my god, it's so dry in there. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. When 15 minutes is up, turn off the heat, slide it off the heat, and let it sit for another 10 minutes without taking the lid off. This is crucial.
This is what it's supposed to look like. It's still bubbling. Everything's going.
It's not going to burn.
It's all good.
It's going to be fine. And if a little bit of it sticks, which it won't, but if it does, it'll taste good because it'll get kind of maybe a little bit crunchy on the bottom, and that actually is really delicious. But it shouldn't happen in this because there's a lot of water in here. And we'll come back in 15 minutes. Okay, timer is going off for our rice. As you can see, all the moisture is pretty much gone. All the water's cooked out of it. It's good. Looks good. Turn it off and take it off the heat. Do not remove the lid. Leave it on. We gotta let it rest for another 10 minutes like this before we even take the lid off.
Really?
Because this is it's still cooking.
Okay.
Okay, it's been about 10, 15 minutes after we removed the rice from the heat. And that's what it looks like. And give it a stir. See, look, it's all individual grains. You could use a fork right now if you want to fluff it up. That's what a lot of recipes say to do. I don't do that. I don't. Well,
the reason we toasted it first is so that they would come out as individual grains, right?
Yeah, see, they're not mushing up. It's not super mushy. Yeah, that's what toasting it does.
Okay.
And we didn't get really any stickage either. So, that's good.
Stickage.
Let's taste it now.
What was the
Salt should be good because our seasoning is pretty salty and our vegetable broth concentrates are usually pretty salty. So, get a little. Oh, man. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's really good.
So you can use lime or you can use vinegar?
Yeah, white vinegar. I have apple cider. That's just what I grabbed.
And we're doing this?
Because If it tastes good, but maybe like a little bottle, and it's hard to explain.
It's not bright.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. It's not bright. Like it's kind of muted, maybe. I guess the taste. You can taste all the spices, but it's a little muted. It definitely has salt. You know it has salt. Try adding just a little bit of like acid to it. So vinegar or lime or whatever you have that's acidic. Now you can smell the vinegar boiling off. You want to clean out your sinuses. It's pretty good. But just a little bit of vinegar. Maybe I need to add a little more of this, but it tastes really good. It depends. This depends on whether your tomatoes are very acidic.
Oh, right.
So you need a little bit of acidity for this. Taste it. Tell me what you think.
I don't know.
You had them
All
washed?
right, Jay-Z. Dang.
Is that better than the one? Is that better than the one last time? Is that better than the one last time?
Yeah, it's good.
I've been stirring it a lot, so it kind of broke up little pieces. But